This is Warriors Anonymous.
Hey, welcome to Warriors Anonymous. Bit of a tough week, this, guys. Bit of a tough week, this. We've been used to a little bit of success so far in 2023. And, well, there was high hopes that we could have gone over and maybe conquered the castle over there, but unfortunately wasn't to be. My name is Jared Cronin. Welcome along. You might notice we were a little bit short on troops. Kind of fitting for our side at the moment. We've got, first of all, we've got, well, I'll say who's missing first off in the injury report. Monetasos is away. Not only does the NRL go back on, tackles to penalise the Warriors, they've also gone back to seventh form since Moneta. He needs to go back and resit his finance exam. Nah, bro, he's doing something pretty cool by the sounds. He's going to be a very, very smart man. So.
No injury.
That's right. Kind of
He's not suspended. Hit drop from 2 weeks ago.
No hip drops. No hip drops. Speaking of hip drops, we've got the man who's just celebrated his stag do recently, a couple of nights back on Saturday on the weekend. Any hip drops going on there, bro?
Oh,
Really, no. Not that I would have remembered, but knowing me, there probably would have been something like that, but I don't remember it. No one's pulled me up, so don't think so. Nothing, no illegal hip drop. No.
That's good. And you've kept your eyebrows, so that's good.
Yeah.
No, didn't wake up with any random tattoos or anything?
Nah, I didn't wake up with a Mike Tyson type tattoo on my face. I didn't need to be another lookalike.
Yeah.
Like fat Mike Tyson, from The Hangover. Not like fighting with fit Mike Tyson, but yeah, nothing like that.
Oh, good stuff, bro. Good stuff. We've also got, of course, the Golf Masters on at the moment. I understand Daniel Wharekura's been out on the course as well with the kids, bro. How did that go?
Good, man. Yeah. I was getting trash talked by my son as well. Because I videoed one drive he had on Snapchat. He just nailed it down the middle. And then he came back to me and said, "Dad, now don't hit it over the trees onto the road." It's the one that, if people know the Wellington area, Judgeford goes through State Highway 59 or 58 or whatever it is. So, yeah, I've put many a ball onto that little bit of stretch of road. So I overcompensated it and I sprayed it to the right. There you go.
Fair enough, bro. Fair enough. Oh dear, it wasn't the only thing to go slightly astray on this wonderful Easter weekend. First of all, guys, did it just kind of feel like forever between games this week? Went from the end of the Sharks game, and it just felt like we were waiting, and it just never seemed to arrive, the kickoff, and then it did, and it was like, okay, can we maybe not? But now, obviously, a massive travel burden on the team, which is going to go through the whole season, to be fair. But what did you make of the fact that we rested about 12 players from midweek training just to try and freshen up and recover from the previous game against the Sharks?
Yeah, it probably speaks to the intensity of, or the amount of effort that they've been pouring into the first part of the season. So I guess some great results we had, and some especially the Sharks game the week before. So it's obviously having a bit of a impact so far with energy levels, the travel times they have, and we always know every year, except for the COVID years, we travelled significant amounts more than every other team. I don't think Brisbane have left Queensland this year, but that's that's how NRL set up. So it's I guess boys under pressure early on, and it doesn't help with a growing injury list.
Yeah, it is. It's certainly growing. I guess overall, Isaac, looking at the Knights game where we went down by 10 points, did it just kind of look maybe like we, from all of the guys that we'd had suspended or injured and injured during the game, it just kind of got a little bit too much for us in the end. We just didn't quite have what it took to get it done.
I think you have to give them credit for the way they did sort of stage a little bit of a mini comeback. And then just a couple of little mistakes here just kind of iced the game, really. But it's another one of those games where we weren't too far away from being in it, if not winning it, but we just didn't do ourselves any favors on top of, the injuries and the amount of workload we've had to, big shifts we've had to put in for the past 5 sort of weeks. They'll get those games that we'd previously played. And, Buddha says this every year. Injuries are always going to be a big factor in the season. It's a long season. Are we better off just having these little niggles up front, and then towards the back end of the season, everyone's in the groove and at 100%. But it's just the way the NRL is week to week. It's a tough game.
And it just kind of feels like we're at the point now. We've just gotten through our first 6 games of the season. We're going to do a bit of a quarterly review later in the podcast. But obviously, we've started off the season, and now it sort of feels like now we get into the real grinding part and just trying to see who's fit, see who's coming back from suspension, blah, 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 who's going to fit where. And it feels like that's going to be the real challenge, especially over the next couple of blocks of games. But are we, man, when we got going in the game, like we stalled again at the starting line somewhat, gave a decent lead away. But once we got going, man, again, we looked so good in that middle sort of passage of the game.
Yeah, I feel like, those back when maybe we were a bit older, hanging around with some cousins, maybe you're like 5, 6 years older and you're like having a running race. You're like, okay, right, I'll give you a head start. I'll close my eyes. I'll do, I'll spin around and around, and then I'll chase you, So we just seem to, let teams get up early as well. And no, I guess it's nice to be known to be able to catch teams as well. And yeah, you're right. I think when we wanted to play, and we were just rolling down with ease as well, I thought. And when we had ball in some good spaces, we attacked well. So this game really frustrates me because I said it on the chat, and Spoonie, Jared Wood said, I think the Knights a bit better than you give them credit for. The Knights aren't great. They played with a lot of effort and enthusiasm, but I think we were able to pick them apart when we say we wanted to, but when we could, set piece tries, that sort of thing. So, yeah, I think when we could turn it on, we did turn it on, but we just gave them too much of a head start. And to their credit, their enthusiasm, the effort areas, and perhaps being fresher with a few more, especially the back end of the game, fresher troops, they got the win.
Yeah, fair. Isaac, I guess a little bit of good and a little bit of the bad. Sean Johnson again played really well. Maybe on the flip side of it is that he kind of maybe a little bit too much started to fall on his shoulders. Obviously, we had injuries as we went through the game, but what did you make of his play and of the playmakers in general against the Knights?
I don't necessarily have that many qualms about him having to do more, because I think he's a different Sean Johnson this year. I think he wants it now. He wants that mantle. It looks like it. He wasn't trying to overplay his hand still, even though he was doing a hell of a lot. He wasn't trying to push too much. He was just playing the way he's been playing all year. So I couldn't really see any sort of downside to him, apart from the fact that you've got Mario Martin off the field and what he brings. But Sean Johnson doing more, I had no problems with that. It's just that he does need a foil, to offset his ability, just so he can pick and choose his times of when he's more effective. Because Dan was right as well. Like, once they had the ball in decent positions, he was just picking them apart. He was just, from a standing start, running onto the ball, little skip on the outside, short ball to Pompey, done. And he made it look so easy. So if we've got someone else on the other side, and who that person is, it's a Volkman, is it going to be Metcalf? It's just going to, take a little bit of a load off him because, again, long season. I
don't think it's even that. Like, I think the way in this particular game is that we had those, and I'm probably diving into the bad areas, but I mean, they're just topical now. Like, we obviously had like 4 inside the 10 penalties in their half, piggyback them out.
Yep.
So, and we kick well. SJ kicks well, puts them to the corner. We D up on them, and then we let them out. They kick back to halfway. Then they build pressure against us and probably scored 2 or 3 out of those.
Yeah.
And then we also had two a Kossi and a Montoya era trying to get up too quick to play the ball, trying to, look, I know they're trying to get up quick. There's also an element of trying to catch the marker off guard, but you've got to execute that. That didn't go away. They score against us as well. So I think, how do I put it? Like, I don't think we didn't have enough creativity on the other side for SJ. SJ just controlled the game for us as much as he could. But again, we were just playing. Feel like you're playing where every time the Knights started playing the ball, they were always just led out of their own half, out of their half, or giving the ball back. So it's just sloppy. I feel like in like the run meters, for example, we dominated run meters. The ball was 50-50. We dominated run meters completely and I was thinking, maybe we just rolled down way more than they did. And we did when we could. But the reality is they just got a nice kick out, play the ball halfway, and they don't need to run 40 meters to score try. So, I don't think we lack creativity. We just lacked, how would you put it?
Bit of polish.
We're just sloppy.
Yeah.
Polish.
I feel like as well, it may be the whole fast starts thing against us is potentially getting into our heads a little bit, because what I'm finding is in a lot of these games, in the first 5 to 10 minutes, we're just getting pinged for being inside the 10. Again, the repeat sets as well, but it's happening quite regularly in a lot of these games. It's become quite a pattern. I don't know if it's gotten to their heads about fast starts, like not letting the other team get a fast start on them, and then inadvertently they shoot themselves in the foot with their intensity, and they give away those inside the 10 penalties, and they give them the piggybacks. Because I remember seeing an interview last week where they said, we're not even going to concentrate on the starts, we're just going to concentrate on the 80 minutes. And then after the game, you hear Ciro talk, and they're saying, we've been talking about the starts. And it's like, what is the messaging coming out there in the week? They just a little bit of they were conflicting stories. I don't know if you saw that post-match interview with Cyril.
No, I didn't see that one.
Yeah, because he'd said that they've been talking about their slow starts and not letting the other team get a fast start, which was contradictory to what we had heard, before the week. So I think it is getting into their heads a little bit, which is, not ideal.
We did mention in the post-match presser that the over eagerness. So I guess their game's built on effort, especially, and you can see it's the Panthers game. It's that get down, kick corner, grind them. And we've done really well this year for limiting other teams' progressions, and for a lot of parts, except for when we piggyback them out. We won the territory battle. We were having them kick on their 40, receiving it, and then we're returning back to the 30. So that's what you win. That's what you want. So I think Josh Curran and Jazz, the effort guys, the line speed guys, they bring it. So you miss your assignment trying to get that slight edge. You just get off. And even SJ, I think it was. I mean, look, some weeks you get away with it where they're just a slight foot ahead. This guy wasn't, and look, it's the letter of the law, he pinged them straight away. So, but I think it's that whole, there's that obviously, just being over eager, trying to fix that start. And then we've been undone in a couple of weeks with just not being able to diffuse kicks as well. And I always think, I don't know, I was thinking kick tries like that and the ball spills and taps back and was it forward? Is he offside? What's going on? They kind of initially I thought they're quite lucky. They can go. They'll be fortuitous. But then I realised, you got to deal with the kick, don't you? You got to deal with the first kick, like with the one that went over to might have been over to Kossi's side, comes back, and then Bradman Best puts that one back through the middle to Phoenix Crossland. And it's just like no one's there because you're not structured to be there, are you?
Yeah,
it's broken play.
Yeah. It's a broken play.
It's really hard.
Maybe
stop.
it's
really hard to stop.
I feel like a lot of teams these days, like their players don't put their bodies on the line to take those high balls, those bombs. Whereas maybe I don't know, 10 or so years ago, it was just the thing. You'd have people that were more than capable in the air and were fearless in the air. And when I see the Warriors' efforts, they kind of they're trying to get into position to shield the ball from the other team not getting it instead of having a mindset of, well, I'm just going to attack this ball. Maybe not CNK. He's probably one of the very few that is going to attack the ball. But, the likes of Kossi and that, they're not shrinking wallflowers. They're big units. And we've had people in the past like Yamanu Vatuvais and Kanwamalos that were big players, good in the air. David Fosatua, why can't we just dominate that space? But that just takes a little bit of bravery on their side of things to be able to go up there and really make a play. I'm getting a little bit tired of seeing people just trying to shield the ball, because then it becomes a fortuitous 50-50 type game. Whereas I'd rather put someone make an effort to get up there, and if they knock it on, well, so be it. But yeah, I don't know.
Well, the reverse of that, depends where the kick is. Do you just not compete? If the kick is going to land on your 20 or 30, do you let them go up? I mean, because I guess the problem we had is we either knock on or it's a contest 50-50. We either knock it forward or it drops down. But if you don't leave the ground, let them make the play, you prepare for the second phase. I don't know.
Yeah.
And maybe it's also the quality of the team you're up against, like Dom Young in the air is pretty formidable, right? So sometimes it's about, who they put up against you as well. So maybe, I guess it's just a big work on, right? To compete against some of these teams.
I think it's just a personal preference as well as a fan about what you'd want to see. My preference is to see players attacking the ball. For the people attacking the ball, the opposition team, if they know that you're going to be good in the air and you're going to be competitive, it still makes it a little bit tougher for their attacking players to attack the ball themselves. Where, like a few years ago when we had someone like Fosatua, people just weren't even trying it on him at all. They weren't. And then it becomes we're just not even going to kick to him full stop because he's too good. You just build that reputation. So I'm just more of a fan of attacking the ball. And going up for the catch.
We mentioned Chans Nicol Klukstad in there, and he had a wonderful game. All effort, just bloody gives it everything. Gets hurt every bloody third tackle and gets up and just carries on like he's Rocky. But there was a big moment in the first half where we thought he'd muscled his way over for a try, and then it was called back for an obstruction, and then within a couple of moments later, they were back down the other end with that cross kick and getting a try. Isaac, how big was that sort of passage of play in terms of determining the outcome of the match?
Oh, big momentum swing, I mean, the Warriors were up after getting that try, and it seemed like there was quite a long time that passed before they went to no try. Like, oh no, is this another one of those 5-minute rewinds and let's just fucking sin bin Neokore? It was like that. Let's just try and find something. And to the letter of the law, it wasn't obstruction. But come on, like Jackson Hastings was, even if he wasn't obstructed, there was no chance he was getting across to stop CNK.
Yeah.
But
I reckon he would have got across. It's just whether he would have, and he would have been part of making the tackle, because it was a bit of slow motion. CNK did make the line and did take a bit of time, and all they needed to do was to have another player around. So. I mean, you don't love to see that, but it's, as you say, letter of the law. Well, I thought maybe we had an opportunity when Ford gets pushed. There's the try that the one that Dom Young scores when Vailea's all over him. Ford gets pushed in the line as well, and he gets taken away. But no, they didn't check that as well. But I do appreciate there's the Prince.
Yeah, the Prince ain't happy.
Featuring.
What's happening, bro? He's like, hey, am I maybe due for a feed right now? Hey, buddy.
Why are you looking so sad?
I think the thing that Webby was not happy about is, and like happened when we had the Adokar try, when with the Adokar one, we had a try disallowed.
Yeah.
That was
That's right.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And then they just skin us quickly. So I think that he wasn't happy about that. You kind of slightly drop your bundle, thinking about you being wronged, and next thing you know, it's a 12-point swing.
Yeah.
Wrong
Actually
twice.
had producer Matt hit me up in regards to that obstruction call. He's obviously a Roosters fan, and he was saying that Melbourne were given 2 tries using that exact type of play. I haven't checked the tape yet, but I'm interested to go back and just have a look and see see what he's mentioning, because again, it sparks up a little debate. Is it a call against the Warriors? But anyways,
I think we got the AFB one last week or 2 weeks before with Reid Marnie, possibly letter of the law. You could have pinged him, but the reality, they put footy over it, and Marnie didn't have eyes for him and was never going to get there. I do think Jackson Hastings would have got across because of the time it took TNK to bust that gap and get out. Not it was a slow motion, but he forced his way through. But again, the question mark is he going to affect anything? He's going to get there, but potentially. Is he going to change the outcome? Maybe, maybe not. So part of me does like a little bit of footy now to it, but yeah, it's a lottery. You just don't know. Some weeks they'll go, yep, pull that back. Some weeks they won't.
That's right. Speaking of refereeing controversies, I'm sort of thinking a bit Shakespearean here, the old to be or not to be. Is it a hip drop or is it not a hip drop? The one that happened to Te Maire Martin in the second half. I mean, what do we think? Last week it was.
Yeah. Last week it was. Last week it was. This week they don't even look at it.
Yeah.
I don't know. This week you have the injury outcome that you're trying to avoid. Last week no one got injured.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and we got pinged. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And not even like you could have gone back. Like they've set a precedent. Like, okay, we can go back in the set. We can go back fucking last week and check that shit. Not even did that. Didn't even want to.
If they're going to set a precedent with Neocorez being, sin bin, couple of weeks off, surely they can just have that as a video clip next to the bunker. We need a point of reference here for this hip drop.
Yeah.
Boop, play the Neocora one. All right, that's what we're looking for. I see that with Te Maire Martin's. That's a hip drop.
Yeah.
But
the
are they remembering
one,
what they're seeing every week?
The one, he doesn't even land on his legs. This one, Crossan lands on his legs.
On his legs, fibula.
It creates the potential fracture, and that's what they're trying to avoid.
Yeah.
Yeah. Strange. Just very, very strange. I noticed that there's a lot of chat around, a lot of people saying, I think, what you might have mentioned at one point as well, that there's often a lot of penalties against us early, and then a bit of a square up as the game starts to wind down. Thing I was noticing in recent times was that if we were staying in the game, it actually worked to our advantage in the end, because we start to get a couple of calls as we get right down to the the nitty gritty at the end. But anyways, the truth is out there, people. Anyways, in terms of looking at what we can do better, the bench. There was a lot of chat before the game. And dare I say, quite a bit after as well. We went for the small ball, with obviously Tane Tuopiki came onto the interchange as we bumped up. Who did we bump into the starting lineup? Jazz. So Josh Curran. Yeah.
Josh Curran.
So that changed a lot of things, and dare I say, it changed a lot of how we were going to play the game. What were your guys' thoughts on that? We'll start with you, Isaac.
Well, I don't think the injuries sort of helped. I don't know if I thought I was a fan of that bench makeup before the game. And the more time I sort of pondered on, I was like, might be missing a trick here. I think for me, the bench is a tough one, just because I've just got issues with the starting lineup anyway, with Bunty Afoa starting. I just really think that he's taking up a spot in that 17 that could be, probably better served with another player. I mean, Tom Ale, hey, look, he's getting better and better every week. Is he pushing himself towards a starting spot? I think so. I think, at the start of the season, I was, calling that he's likely going to end up in the starting 13 on the day. But with Bunty, I just don't feel like he's offering enough. And He's a fan favorite. We all love him. I want to give him every opportunity, but with the minutes that he's playing, are we better served giving a young gun a go in his place and starting Ale? But yeah.
No, that's good. That's good. I mean, I know there's a lot of people saying the same thing as well. But the Bunty sort of debate, I guess, it's already been kind of bubbling away for a few weeks, and now, of course, it's gotten worse because first of all, Tom Ale played really well. So now the question is being asked: what do you think that Webby will do next week?
Well, it's all about troops at the moment. So for Bunty, he will play this week. He has to. Well, so I guess when we go to a fully fit team, so dream back and just hold in your heart, Warriors, that when we have everyone fit, we're actually a fucking really good team, like, and a really good forward pack. So I know we always put these out. I message probably more than you guys are. This is my team, my team. But just think about this: if you have fully fit, we have AFB, Egan, Barnett, Niokore, Ford, Tohu, and then a bench of Dylan Walker, Jazz Tafanga, Josh Curran, and Tom Ale.
Yeah.
And actually the challenge there for that such a great side is one probably would drop out to have some X factor as well. So I've kind of I just love that sound of that forward pack and bench. So good. But come back to the bench that we had. I think I mentioned a couple of weeks ago, when Metcalf is available, can we find a spot for a Metcalf player, a Tuopuki, I guess, as well. But I think we can only do that if we have 80-minute men there, and we pretty much had. I mean, Barnett can probably go close to 80 minutes as well in the middle, if not edge and middle. Tohu can go 80 as well. We didn't have him in near. Kore can go 80. So because we're so light on forwards, for me, obviously the Egan issue as well happened this week. So Suro had to go in there. We lost. We ran out of sting.
Yep.
We just ran out of gas. Those guys, like Jazz, fell over after trying to, when he got subbed, he was gone. And the try we let in, soft around the edge, Suro's on the ground, man. Those unfortunate type things. There's a little bit of a structure breakdown, but those guys are out on their feet. So I just think we were lighter forward, one forward. And I thought I was a bit annoyed actually. I thought it's a great opportunity. We've got great New South Wales Cup young forwards. We're going to need to bring them in. We're down 3 key forwards as well. Got to bring them in. So yeah, part of me thought you can only have a Tuapiki if you have your senior players back, because you're going to get plenty of minutes out of all those guys to have the luxury of going, hey, look, here's our ace card at the end of the game. Break some shit up and possibly. I don't want to say the word, but maybe it smelled a bit arrogant actually, that we put a fast man on the bench thinking, oh, we'll run away with it with the Knights, and the Knights had plenty of effort actually, and they just juiced us. But that was just my 2 cents. But there is a little bit of talk that maybe Chance was a little bit. There was a murmur going around that he might not have been able to start the game as well. So perhaps Tuopiki was a bit of an insurance plan if Chance went down as well. But it's it didn't work out.
That's the thing. Insurance policy is probably the good term for it, because we've been purchasing a lot of those in recent times just from sheer necessity. But it is interesting. Obviously, it was what a good 4 out of your starting 6 forwards not available. That's huge. That's a huge chunk out of your game. That messes obviously with your forward pack, but then it messes with your bench. And then we start playing a game that's probably not quite our blueprint from what we started at the start of the year. We were really clear on what we wanted to do. And now we're just sort of guys going down left, right, and centre. Oh, I was watching the game at one point, I think probably when Egan got hit. And I was just like, man, can we just have a game where like shit just doesn't fall to pieces? Like, come on, like, you know, I know we've been winning, but you just want a little bit, some sort of,
What's with all this adversity? Come on, man. Like,
but on a serious note, Egan is in trouble. Like, and this is the accumulation of head knocks in quick successions. And actually, I think that whether it's the science or what happens is, you know, once you get a head knock, you know, you lose a little bit of, how would you put it? Well, your propensity to be hit again, if you do get hit, to be knocked out again increases, and it just accumulates. And I think he's had, this is close to his third, right, this season already.
Yeah.
Yep.
Two official as well. Maybe 2 will be ruled out for the 11 days, and maybe a light head knock at the start.
Do we need to start like maybe saving the fatigue factor? Because, you know, when I saw him get smacked, I was kind of like, oh, man, I just feel like he's just probably just trying to do a bit too much, and we're trying to, you know, run him a bit hard in terms of minutes. Isaac, do you think we need to just maybe just split those kind of dummy half duties a bit better than we have been?
I think maybe something has to change. As much as I'd rather it don't, because I love the quality of his play, but to preserve him almost, I hate to say it, maybe there needs to be a little bit of thought put into how we can, preserve his noggin, and getting someone else to, manage his workload in that area, and give someone else some minutes at dummy half. I mean, hey, look, I thought Sarah had a great game at dummy half. Like, I know Dan's a massive fan of his, and you know, I've been a fan, but I became more of a fan of his after the weekend, because he filled in admirably. I mean, he doesn't have the running game, but his service out of dummy half was sharp, and he seemed to be putting people in the right direction. And, you know, he can defend as well. So, you know, maybe a bench spot for someone like Ciro to give Wade Egan a hand. I mean, again, that just throws up, you know, the $1 million question of what the bench, like, what is our best looking 17? It's a good headache to have, but if Wade Egan's going to be a problem, that's another thing you're going to have to consider.
And I thought that Serenen's service out of dummy half was miles better than what Walker had done earlier in the season when we got him in there. We were a lot more fluent. You know, the second half we were looking really good, really good. One thing that wasn't quite as good, one thing that stood out to me, he was playing good, but however, the commentator saying his name was not great, and that is the man that Fox call Tom LA. LA. Yeah, that's right.
Could be worse.
I was thinking,
could be worse. Tom Ale.
I have heard worse. I've heard Tom Ale.
Tom Ale. Tom Ale. Or you put his two names together in tamale.
I mean,
tamale.
Tamale. Hot tamale.
And that's exactly how you say his name, Ale. I mean, I don't think you'd ever do a say my name for a guy who's got like 3 letters in his first name and then 3 letters in his surname, but there you go. Tom Ale. Not LA. Not LA.
Tamale. LA.
And can we just highlight, so I put this on here as well, so Tom Allet, 46 minutes, so an extra stint this week, given light on troops as well, but well deserved. He brought energy effort, 14 runs for 155 metres, 2 tackle breaks, 31 tackles, 0 misses.
That's rugby gold right there.
That is gold. 41 odd points for that time. Point a minute, and not only that, he was steaming onto it as well. Throwback to some Hytro days we had.
But he's such a good mix of that fire, but also able to maintain. Like he's just showing throughout the season. He showed it in the preseason game as well, and everyone got all excited. It was like, oh shit, he's just like gone for bloody 40 odd minutes just non-stop, and he was everywhere. You know, so that's a really cool, exciting thing for him, and I think how we use him will probably show that, and he'll reap some rewards in the next few weeks. But reaping rewards was something that our lower grade teams were doing on the weekend. We had the New South Wales Cup team, 54-14 winners over the Knights. So that was lovely. They were getting tries all over the place. I know a guy called Dallin Waitini-Zelezniak got 4. And yeah, a couple of guys playing really well, like Volkman, who could potentially, more than likely be back in the starting lineup this coming week. He was looking good. Sefa Kula, there's a few of these guys really playing well in that New South Wales Cup team. So second on the table. So that's awesome. I also just want to give a quick shout out to the Warriors SG Ball team who wrapped up their season. They played the makeup game, if you will, on the weekend, which they won against Manly, 20 points to 10. So they finished the year in 9th spot. So just missing out on a couple of points away from the top 6 to make the finals. But I think all in all, pretty good season for the young lads, the first year back in the comp, and exciting future. So yeah, shout out to those boys for all that they did for their season. So we are now in the NRL season. We've played our first block of 6 games, so we are 1/4 of the way through our draw. Got 24 matches in the season, so we've played our first 6. There we go. Quick maths. Boys, let's do a quick short balls. Let's describe this first quarter of Warrior Ball, the first quarter of the season, as an Easter treat. And we'll start with Daniel Wharekura.
Dan.
So my Easter treat, I used to love to tuck into as a young fella as well. Probably not so much these days, but is when you got the chocolate buttons Easter egg. So if you hadn't had that before, you've got this nice boxed Easter egg, and you're sweet, you're wrapped with it, it's what you wanted. You chew into it, and next thing you know, there's a bag of chocolate buttons on the inside. And I think that's how the season's been. It's it started off well, looked well, but once you get through it as well, bang, there's been some extra in there as well. So, I think very happy to receive the extra buttons, and that's what the first 6 games have been.
Chocolate action, that's cool. I was just knocking the top off it and then opening the bag and then pouring them into the hollow egg and then just eating your way through the whole thing and being picking the buttons back out again.
Loosen up my buttons.
Oh, so good. God, I feel like one now. Isaac, how would you describe the first quarter of the season as an Easter treat?
Growing up as a Muslim, Easter was never really a thing. So any sort of Easter egg coming my way was always a bit of a bonus. Had to hide it if I was going to get one. My favorite thing with Easter eggs was always just to get the hollow ones and smash them against my head and then pick apart the little bits and pieces. And yeah, just the Dan's effect. If there was something inside it, that's just a bonus. And I feel like the first quarter of this year has gone better than any of us would have expected. So yeah, hollow. It's got to be a hollow Easter egg though. It has to be hollow because you can't crack a solid block of chocolate.
I mean, in saying that, they used to be a bit more solid, right? The hollow eggs. They used to be a bit thicker. You
they were solid, yeah.
You'd feel it. Nowadays, you kind of you just shatter it. But yeah,
might have been an 11-day stand down back in the day.
Yeah.
But some of them were actually pretty solid.
Remember there's
inflation. They've just shaved a couple of millimeters.
It's a shrinkflation. I'm going to go. This is a surprising one for me. My Easter treat I'm going to describe the season as so far is a marshmallow Easter egg. And I'll tell you why. Because when I go to eat a marshmallow Easter egg, I'm not really expecting much. And after I eat it, I'm like, it was actually pleasantly surprising. And I'll, generally go back for more. But just based on the level of expectation we started the season at and where we're at the moment, 4 wins out of 6 games. Very pleasantly surprised on where we're at. So let's do a review. I think.
Before we do that, can I add 2 more things?
Are these Easter treats?
So if I was a Tigers fan, Easter treats, if I was a Tigers fan, we'll get to this, I'd feel like I've been given a warehouse Easter egg. And it tastes like shit.
That's probably about 3 or 4 years old.
Old shit, and I don't like it. And it's all the white shit's come out of it. No, thank you.
Yeah.
And it clearly as a Warriors fan, I've gorged on my chocolate buttons because I'm feeling a little bit unwell, a little bit sick, and that's how, unfortunately, about potentially the next 6 block of games could feel like, because we've got down on troops and we've got some big fixtures coming. But
back
all good.
to the wall. All right. Let's go back to the early days. Friday, March the 3rd. Oh, what a time to be alive. There was a special game being played at Sky Stadium in Wellington. You boys were in attendance, and we managed to knock over the Knights. 20 points to 12. Isaac, describe for us how that match was from your lens.
Just so good to be back. Just good to see Warriors fans. Nice to meet some other Warriors fans, are all part of the group here as well. It's just good to have. It was just good to have league back. Really, for the year, it's been waiting for so long. Even though the Warriors have now made their customary slow start, if we're going to be reviewing this first quarter of the season, the way they came back and pulled the win at the stadium in front of a great crowd. Yeah, good way to start the season.
It was, and looking at that starting lineup as well, you just kind of drool over it and go, "Oh man, like how it's evolved now." And there's just so many guys out from what we started with, but that's right. Week 2, again, scoreline was again 2012, just like the old John Cusack movie. This time against the Roosters over in Sydney, and unfortunately, we were beaten this time. Again, bit of a slow start, but Buddha, what did you think of that particular game?
Well, you were in attendance, mate. So, and all I can remember you saying it was hot as balls over there. Yeah. So you talk us through it.
Oh,
you were sweating in the stands.
We were sweating in the bloody, like in the shaded section. It was bloody hot. There with the Warrior Nation crew, and I actually, I felt like it was one of those games where, I felt like we let it get away. Wasn't necessarily that I thought the Roosters were better than us. I actually felt like we could have taken them out, but we just a couple of things here and there, a couple of mistakes. Didn't really help our cause, and it was hot. And this was the point where we started, copping a couple of injuries to the side as well. So I think in the end we finished with a short bench, and we fought hard. Sounds familiar. Resilient, but just didn't quite have the finishing touches. So, anyways, that took us to 1-1. Week 3, we travel over to, Jesus, a good travel schedule, isn't it? Over to Townsville to take on the Cowboys. Yeah. And we managed to, again, only hold the Cowboys to 12 points while we put on 26. So, Buddha, what did you like about this one? Maybe, dare I say it, our most well-rounded performance of the season?
Yep. You got to say it's the most complete performance. Although, we let 2 tries in the first 10 minutes of the game as well. But we dominated the back end of the first half, and then we just took that domination into the second half. And again, in Townsville, very hot, a long way to go, travel delays. It was a massive ambush up there as well. We just caught them unawares, really. And I think probably signaled to the NRL that this is a team. This is a proper team. You can't take them lightly. And the Cowboys did. But yeah, it was one of those games that you're like, 15 minutes to go. We pretty much got this game,
Well,
we don't feel like that too often.
I don't feel like that too often, but with 10 minutes to go, and you go, we're fucking dominating this game. It was great.
It wasn't even really as close as it was. The 14-point margin probably flattered the cows. Then we came back to a place called Mount Smart. Is it the only time we've played at Mount? It is the only time we played at Mount Smart across the first quarter of the season. 2
home games.
So we came home to take on the Bulldogs. Yeehaw! Tough game. Couple of former Penrith coaches at the helm of both teams. Isaac, what did you take from this close encounter? We took out 16-14.
Yeah, I think we talked about the podcast afterwards. There was the battle of the Penrith coaches and the Penrith styles, and a couple of controversial calls, with the strip on Pompey by Kikau, and then the quick turnaround with the Fox scoring, but managed to eke out a win. I kind of felt like maybe we underestimated them because we had a big pump up from the Cowboys game and playing at home, but still managed to eke out a win. So that makes it, what was that, 3-1 at that point?
Yep. It was.
For the season, which is pretty good.
And I think also just compared to both teams fought well, but the halves and there's number sevens with a difference, right? Mm-hmm. And SJ just showed class and a game-breaking ability, where Flanagan just showed that he is a second-rate halfback.
Yeah. I think to that point as well, it's funny going over every single game. When I think about the performance of SJ through each game, there is incremental improvement. Like, the curve is up, and then we hit the Sharks.
Well, I mean,
so
that's a good point, because we
game.
were worried about him going into the season. Even the preseason games were a little bit scratchy, so a lot of people had a lot of questions about Sean. He's really. From where he started at the start of the season, he's really coming on strong. So, especially in the game against his former team, the Cronulla Sharks. This was round 5 over in the Nulla. I don't know if anyone's ever called it the Nulla before. But we gave away a good start. We were down 20 points to 0, and then 26 points to 6, and ultimately we came home 32-20 with a late penalty goal to a guy called John Johnson. What did you make of that particular game? Maybe, dare I say this, maybe one of the greatest wins in history for our team.
I definitely rank in the top 5 greatest wins we would have had. So what did I make of this game? First half, I just thought, fucking old Warriors for the COVID Warriors. We're back. We're letting, obviously, dare I say it, my second favourite team, Shark.
I noticed that chat was pretty quiet.
Nico Hines, that he was flowing.
Nico Hines, a Bella woman.
Yeah. I mean, you just went from flimsy edge defence to like silky edge attack as well. But wow, I know this team has shown some fight and resilience in the first few rounds of the season, and not necessarily the same old Warriors, but the ability to come back as they did, and then snatch it late was just phenomenal. So a massive highlight as a Warriors fan since probably the 2018 season, where we had some
kind of. It was taking me back to maybe the early 2000s. I remember we played a game against Penrith over in Penrith, and back when Stacey was playing and those boys, Ali, I think, as well. We just came back from like miles down and just threw the ball around, just played some amazing footy. I know this is a different team. This is the Warriors team so far this year that, I don't know, they're a bit different to what we knew, which has mainly been good. But Isaac, round 6, obviously we've just spoken about the 34-24 loss to the Knights. Maybe it's, losses are going to happen. Really, it's just one of those things. Do you think
losses are just going to happen? I thought Newcastle, they came out to play. They had a pretty tough game, and they managed to draw against Manly the week before, so they were up for it as well. They had their own sort of resilience moment the week before. I think a little bit of bad luck on our end with injuries. I think a lot of energy from Newcastle. Tough to play over there as well, in front of a pretty amazing crowd from what I could see on the TV. You're going to have those losses. First quarter, though, of this season still a win for us, and I think the boys just deserve a bit of a break to prepare for the second quarter of the season.
And they're not going to get one. Unfortunately, next week they're going to be playing on Saturday against the Cowboys. We're going to chat about that and just have a bit of a preview as to how that game could shake out as we head back to Mount Smart Stadium. Oh my gosh, for the second time this year. Hello. And then, obviously after that we've got a couple more fun games. One over in Melbourne, which is an away game against the Storm on the 25th of April. the upside of that one is at least it gives us a 10-day break between games. It's going to be a Tuesday night game. So I don't know.
Hey?
Yeah.
Anzac Day.
So I don't know. I mean, we obviously we went
sense.
Sunday to Sunday with the last game, and that felt like forever. So going Saturday to Tuesday, it's going to be a Tuesday week at least is going to be an interesting experience. But
with our travel schedule, we just take that, man. They understand. Obviously, we had Richard Agar on the show, and they talked about the game when they played the Roosters. Perhaps it was the Roosters. They just got out of Sydney straight away to get home. Or maybe it was against the Cowboys. They just got on a plane, got out of there so they could, and they got home at a silly o'clock, just so they didn't spend an extra day and get, in that transit time before getting back. So, if you can get a 10-day break between games,
yeah, definitely
take it.
And so we are currently, after 6 rounds of the season, we're sitting nicely in 5th spot. We're on 8 points. And to be fair, that's even number of points with the second place team as well. So Panthers, Storm, Dolphins, and Warriors are all on 8 points, as are the Titans and the Roosters. But so still pretty close, pretty jam-packed, obviously early season. So that'll start to just shake out a bit. We've got a couple more periods coming up. We've got stuff like State of Origin and all that sort of stuff to go through. So that will start just sorting things out a bit more. But the grind, it's well and truly on for our team. And I think if we'd gone over to Newcastle and got a win and gone 5-1 across the first quarter of the season, I'd be like, excellent. That's an excellent start. With that loss 4-2, I still think it's very good. And I just think about it in terms of if you're gunning for, say, 12 wins to get you right in that playoff mix, we're a third of the way to that total. But we've only played 1/4 of our matches, so great start. On to next week.
Quick math.
Plenty of going around as well in the NRL this Easter weekend. But what have you noticed in the deliciously? Oh, hang on, I just got one more.
Could I make 1 point as well, especially just for the first quarter? Let's just think about how far we've come from the past 2 years of performances that we've had. So I would have been ecstatic with 3-3, but to be 4-2 coming into the first quarter, unbelievable effort. I think it's so close to being 5 out of 6, so close to being 6 out of 6. Huge turnaround by this
definitely,
team.
and
yeah, huge. I think you got to recognise that. Only thing that annoys me is, and it's unfortunate, is that and actually on the balance, we're happy with that because the injuries for the last 2 weeks have really highlighted that we haven't had our best team out there. But do you know that situation where you kind of go, well, if I had my dad, he could beat your dad up, that kind of thing. Those things like if I had my best players here, we would beat your best players. Yeah, because I feel like our team, our best side is and maybe it's the way the NRL is at the moment, the way maybe things have slightly evened out. That they talk about the Dolphins coming in and the player talent just shifting around a little bit. You've got clubs with marquee players, the $1.2, $1.3 million players, and that means you compensate for the players at the bottom end. I just feel the Wars, we just have an even bunch. I mean, look, the way Sean Johnson's playing for, what is he, a $500,000 halfback? I mean, we're getting value. We're getting $800,000, $900,000 worth of value. So if you look at all of that, I think we just, and squad wise, when fit, we're fucking scary, man. Now, but yeah. So my expectations are shifting, but you have to go and appreciate the COVID years and how bad, and not even the COVID years, even before the COVID years, how bad we've been.
It is. It's you do know, because we've been winning games. When you lose a game, it hurts. So you're like, you understand it. You're like, we're going to lose games, but because you've been used to that success, it's like, it hurt a little bit. Whereas last year it was just kind of like,
And it's the Knights. The Knights. I don't mind when you go down to a Roosters,
or a
you just know
South or a Melbourne, but the
they're an
Knights.
8 side. The Knights
Well,
have
bro,
got to be
you've
an
got
8
it easy
side.
compared to one of our good listeners, Andy, because his partner, who's my workmate, Viv, is a Knights fan. So he was very happy round one. But congrats to Viv this time round. So I hope Andy
share the
is,
chocolates.
hope he's doing all right. But yeah, I can't remember what we were talking about. Just on the SJ thing. I don't know if this is the case anymore because of, inflation, blah, blah, blah. But when I left New Zealand, I remember the Wendy's burgers used to have like a $5 pack, which was like a cheeseburger and chips and an ice cream thing and a drink. And it was a good size, like for $5. I was like, damn, that's some good value. And that's exactly what I was thinking of when you were talking about Sean Johnson's performance.
Damn, that's a good value.
It's a $5 Wendy's pack.
That meal's $20, Sal, man.
Yeah.
It's $20 in New Zealand.
True.
Yeah. Yeah. Or it's closed down. Sorry, Wendy's is gone.
Oh,
COVID.
shucks. That's hard. Life is hard. League is also hard. But give us an Easter tinfoil wrapped NRL wrap.
Just a quick little cheeky Easter wrap. What can I say? I mean, it's been an interesting round, I think. I think it's been a round where some of those high flyers have been brought back to earth, a la Brisbane fucking Broncos. Fuck you, Greg Dyer. And actually, what it showed is, yes, they have the might, the power, the speed, the great looks, the beautiful eyes, of the Reece Walshes of the world, the Jordan Ariki's as well.
Good looking team.
Got, specimens out there. But Ricky's ugly Raiders got just. And I say that
with love.
I say that harshly because of Corey Horsburgh.
2 words, yeah. Corey.
Horsburgh.
Oh.
And obviously Rapana, who unfortunately 14 stitches or something like that.
Oh, that was scary
as well. So controversial call actually. How did we see that particular call, lads?
Didn't see it myself, so I know he got banged up and he got his melon split, but someone's knee, right?
Taupa'u. That's another say my name.
Yeah, Taupa'u.
He just chased through and just it was really just a complete accident, to be honest. However,
so it wasn't
the way I was looking at it was the fact that Jordan, I know it wasn't technically an illegal thing that Marty had done, but the problem with it was Jordan had secured possession, gone to the ground, and through no fault of his own, knocked the ball on. So I looked at it from that. Yeah, he got hit in the head and the ball came out. I was like, from my way of thinking, you can't let Brisbane run off and score off that. I know that they blew up the Broncos fans, but that was my reasoning for it. I was like, no. Maybe, I was cheering for the Raiders, to be fair, but yeah, I just looked at it from that perspective, thinking if the guy's going to lose the ball solely because he got hit in the head, you have to penalise it. I don't care if he's, like 2 inches above the ground. It's just one of those things.
I had a bit of chat on Twitter with a few peeps, and I came up with a call that the NRL should implement called the dead ball rule. So, because basically it was right in the last 5 minutes, game was on the balance. Rapana obviously kicks the ball, drops to the ground to secure position. Tapa'u comes through, chases, you could say over chased, and I guess his duty of care got him penalised, goes through and knees him in the head, running in there. So it doesn't tackle him with his arms, knee to head. So part of it is the duty of care of, realising he should give up the chase as well, but completely accidental. But I feel like a call where it's just called a dead ball, you just make them play the ball there, because obviously the penalty relieved things. So they got the kick back to halfway and they got to get the set back down there, and basically it was in the grind. So nice dead ball call happens in other sports, softball, baseball. You just go back to that particular thing. You put the ball back there. There's no knock on, and just play on again. And everyone's kind of sort of none the wiser. The knock on was created by the accidental.
Yeah, fair.
Head knock.
No, I like that. I do like that. Might have just made scenes a little bit more. What's the word I'm looking for? Cordial. Some of those Broncos fans.
Go the Raiders. I normally hate the milk, but up the milk. Get it?
The ugly milk.
Just to bring those Broncos back feet back on the ground and realise, we haven't won the fucking comp yet.
Yeah, glamour boys.
Just because we haven't left Queensland yet as well. And we have 19 home games this year. I mean, I don't know. The day that we win the competition and we beat the Broncos in the grand final will just be, I'll quit rugby league. I won't watch it now.
And I think with your last mic drop, you'll probably just be like, fuck you, Greg Dyer. Whoa. I need to go back through the whole podcast and just make a montage of every time you've said that. You'd probably go for a good few minutes. Oh. Yeah,
bro. Love it. Fins get up. Fins, I'm loving it. I'm loving the Fins. Yes. And loving Fido up against his own team as well. Which is, I'm not always a massive fan of a team we're about to play losing as well, but you gotta give the Finns some credit. They're down on troops too. And I think the other two games, actually a really good round, you think about it. Couldn't see this from the Storm, actually. They've been travelling pretty poorly, averagely, ground out a win, and then had a great win against the Roosters. And I guess it was all about the big cheese turning back up at Melbourne. And one thing that's kind of like the Broncos brought back to earth is Manly. Everyone was going, Manly this, Manly that, Manly this, Manly that, Seabold this, Manly that. Manly got smacked.
Yep.
Smacked in the face, 32-0 at halftime.
Yeah. With a big old bat, they got smacked. I also feel like it kind of corrected certain things because the Panthers obviously lost a couple of games to start the season. People were starting to be like, oh, I'm thinking now, bro. I think once we start to get a roll on in the season, and especially towards the pointy end of things, bro, the Panthers going to be right in there.
And just as we went to air, just to mention as well, and I know we're having a pretty good season, but we just took one out for our homies, West Tigers. And
Spare a thought for the West Tigers.
Spare a thought,
Please
Benji.
donate.
Please donate. And I just said to you guys before we went on air, like they had a period of play in the first half where they had maybe 3 repeat sets. They had, 6 minutes in the 20-meter zone, and they just looked poor, so bad, just so one out, like not looking to even build. You know how you even have set to set kind of plays, just settler to build a play, just not even the ability to build a play. It was just horrible, but they managed to get themselves back in the game and then lose it. So unlucky Wolves.
Yeah, poor old Ziggy Wiggies. Plus, they had a bit of a problem with their jersey, the old Anzac jersey during the week.
The Indigenous
Anzac one, yeah.
The Anzac one? It was the Anzac one, eh?
Anzac one with American troops.
The American troops.
With a British guy wearing the Anzac jersey.
Yeah, did you see what he replied with that? Oh, Bateman? They were like, oh, what? Well, why did you get an Englishman to wear the jersey? And then Bateman replied to that and just said, obviously the best looking. I was like, yeah, win. That is a win. Also, the funny thing was as well, it might have been yesterday, it came up that some internet sleuths had spotted that the Raiders on previous years, they'd done the same thing. And no one even noticed, poor old Tigers cannot catch a single trick. But anyways is up. Or maybe not. Now we've got we're bringing back a bit of a fan favorite this week because in recent weeks we've been a bit patchy with our work on it. So we are bringing back the Greg Spence special. This is the ka-ching expense account for this week. And running the ball this week is Isaac Sauce.
and crunching the numbers and
Yeah.
bouncing loose in this week's expense account. Poor Wade Egan has had 6 HIAs across his last 9 starts at hooker. In those 9 matches, he's only managed to play 80 minutes just twice. So let's all preserve Wade Egan. Hope he's doing all right. In the first 20 minutes of games so far, the Warriors have just scored 6 points and conceded 64. So they're conceding 10 times as many points as we're scoring in the first 20 minutes of games. Be nice to turn that around in quarter 2 of the season. But looking ahead to round 7, Sean Johnson has been on the victorious team in 8 out of his last 9 games versus the Cowboys. And has never been defeated at home when playing against North Queensland. So that's a very nice stat. And Sean Johnson, hopefully he hears that. He's been playing great. Good record against North Queensland. And if the Warriors gain their 5th win of the season this coming weekend, they will have achieved that 78 days earlier than in 2022.
78 days. I wonder how many games within 78 days.
Somebody do the math there, please. I mean, it's going to be at least 10. 10?
Well, it's at least 11 if you're playing like 7 days apart, right?
Yeah.
So it's probably, let's say, there's a bye. Oh, but you do beat the bye, do you?
Did we beat the bye?
We struggled.
Did we beat the bye? I don't think the Tigers have beat the bye.
Yeah. Would have been a close one, at least last year. But, that's a milestone achievement to get the 5th win. 78 days. That's just cold-blooded, man. But that is your expense account.
Yeah.
Love that.
I love that it puts things in perspective. It's like, wow, holy shit! Like, that's actually quite something. Both scary, the Wade issue, kind of terrifying.
Very scary.
But he's hoping that he'll be getting the best care in that. So, just need to, like you say, Isaac, just preserve him, cherish every hair on his head. Round 8, boys.
Cherish the
Coming back. We're coming back home, back to Auckland, back to where the steak and cheese pies are good. To take on the Cowboys, who are going to be there, mate. They're going to be bloody. I actually feel like they might be a little bit annoyed coming into this game. What are they? 2 wins, 4 losses. So, and we scorned them.
What is up with that? They're not a dissimilar roster to last year, but they just seem so.
Yeah,
that's
right. But obviously, we've still going to have a number of guys out. Marata Nukore has still got 1 more week to serve on the hoop drop suspension. And then injury wise, Demaire Martin is getting the scan on his leg. That doesn't look great. What's the chat on Tohu Harris and old Barney Barnett?
So Tohu Harris is, Webby said it's one of these things that it could be right just like that. We'll keep naming him, but then it's just not quite there. So the chat there is some previous scar tissue from a previous knee injury, which they think he's confident for this week, but again, it might not be there. And Barnett's issue is obviously that horrible neck crusher, like the worst crusher I've seen. Well, not ever, obviously. Alex McKinnon, it was just, it wasn't a crusher, but a neck injury. But the reason why the crusher is banned because he's got some sort of neck trauma where they are trying to build the confidence in the contact to sign him off to play as well, and so they're just taking him step by step. So they still think he's 2 to 3 weeks away.
All right. Obviously, Wade Egan's still going to be out as well. So, but probably Freddie Lussick slots in at number 9, I'm guessing.
Our boy Lussick goes straight there, I think. And to be honest, I think Egan needs a few weeks off. I think this is the Kalen Ponga situation now. Luke Carey, those players that have had stand down times as well, so I think he needs fortunately for Warriors fans, yeah, we'll see what happens, but he probably needs a few weeks away from the game and contact as well. But I'm confident with Freddie Lussick. He's a good footballer, solid, and he's
He can get a couple of weeks, in the saddle as well. Can only help both his form and how he fits in with the team. Isaac, do you think we'll go back to bringing Ronnie Volkman in at 5'8", assuming that Te Maire is out?
I think it's pretty safe to say, right? I mean, we're kind of a little bit short on options there at the moment. And I don't mind seeing Volkman play either. I mean, he was a bit of a mixed bag in that Sharks game, but he still had a couple of nice touches, and I think he's probably going to be better for it this time round. I think it's probably pretty good opposition for him to play. Nice of him to play the Cowboys versus playing, let's say, Melbourne or Penrith. Just a good opportunity for him to build some confidence there. But I think people will be sort of murmuring about when Metcalf gets back right, as well. Like, is Te Maire Martin going to be off for a prolonged period of time? It kind of looks like that. How quickly are people going to be wanting to see Metcalf have a punt at the 5'8" position? What are your thoughts on Metcalf? Like, if he does, or if and when he does come back?
Either of us.
Look,
he was probably the name that sprung to mind when Te Maire went down. It was like, okay, how far away is old Metcalf? But I guess the thing that's annoyed me with the Metcalf situation is the tag, the indefinite tag. I'm just like, man, just throw a number out there, like, say 12 weeks or something. Like, just give us something. And even if he's not ready by that time, at least it gives us a little bit of certainty to when we could possibly expect him. If it, drags on, then it drags on. That's cool. But saying indefinite, that just mentally, I can't quite handle it. But it'd be cool to see how he goes. Obviously, he's going to need a little bit of time at New South Wales Cup anyway to get going. Expecting probably the worst from Te Maire Martin's perspective, because it's just what we've been getting all season, isn't it? We're going to be probably needing someone in that 6 jersey for quite a while, for the rest of the year potentially.
I'm going to throw a massive spanner.
Here we go.
In the works.
Here we
Here
go.
we go.
I like this.
No. We're getting in the forwards, man, to be honest. So, Carl Lawton. I'm over Carl Lawton.
Never over Carl Lawton.
Nah, Sir my new Carl Lawton.
He's moved on.
Well, he's not. Yeah,
just a rebound.
No, he's not quite. They're quite different, but similar. So one thing that it's frustrated me, and I get this depth chart thing as well, like, but you cannot have a player like Dallin playing New South Wales Cup,
800 G,
ripping and tearing. And I know, positions, and we're not coaches, but you just got to have your best players out there. You've got to have the best first grade quality players out there, and trust. And I think we do it with the forward pack. Trust that they can get a job done, and we've done it. We've shown with the forward pack. We've had a mix mash of forward pack. The beauty is that we listed through that forward pack potential options with them, and also a massive bench, and we still have we could potentially have a Curran miss out of that team who has been playing awesomely. I think it's time we need to do it at the backs. For me, Volkman, he's obviously tearing up Cup. He's doing really well, but you can't have SJ and Volkman together. You can, obviously, and they will play. They more likely will play, but I just think that he doesn't. I don't know. I haven't seen in first grade Volkman play the 6 role that well. I mean, you typically want to. Not that Te Maire is a runner, but he can run as well. So I don't know. And he was a defensive liability. They pulled him against the Sharks. The Sharks picked him out, ran a massive line at him, HIA'd him as well. So that's not, obviously unfortunate. But so my bold prediction, my span in the works is Dallin plays fullback.
Okay.
Chance plays 6.
Okay.
Chance plays 6.
How good should Chance look He played 6 in the back end of the game. He played 6 back end of the game when Tuolpiki came in as well, and Dylan had to come back in the forwards. And the try he set up for 40 was he just ran. He did an SJ line, ran to the line, put 40 through. Effort on effort guy. He could be our version of Jack White, and just putting it out there. And you get Dallin at the back. Dallin used to play fullback. I know he hasn't played a lot of fullback. Safe under the high ball, fit as anything, returns, covers ground. Kossi and Monty have been, obviously apart from their little mistakes they've made as well, I don't think it's enough to even pull Kossi out to go keep Kossi on, out of the side, especially when I think Vailier defensively is struggling. So the other option was chuck Monty into centres to accommodate him.
Is Willie Army?
I don't know. Just again, he's probably the one that annoys me. Like Calf, everyone else is, and he's been Calf.
Yeah,
definite.
You'd be getting that with those calves.
That's
true.
It's always indefinite.
Always just on picking up Prince Miles before. Bloody hell! Age.
A little bit of a rant here, boys. I don't know. What do you
Interesting
think?
call with CNK at 6. I like it. I have to admit, I like it. He wouldn't be a liability defensively. We know that. No, he'd be pretty good at organising on defense, seeing as he plays fullback. And I don't mind Dallin at fullback versus him on the wing for some reason. I would prefer him to play at fullback than on the wing.
I know there's punters out there that the purists, this position he plays a special position, and I know there's been some kind of set up like that, but I don't know. When you're down on troops, I just think you just have to have your best players out there and just trust that they can fucking do a job.
Flip side of that is it a vote of confidence for Volkman, though, if you play someone completely out of position, never played at 5/8 before? I like to start.
He's a 7. He's a 7. You can't have 2 7s, man.
Yeah. But, he's also probably the future 7 of the club too. There's a lot for him to ponder. I guess I'm saying there's a lot.
Yeah. And they'll go that way. They're safe. And he can still do a job, but I just don't know. I just think we need defensive security, man. We don't need any chinks in armour, and then just the way Chan's actually just, I haven't seen a lot of that for Chance for a while, the ability to ball play. Like, we've seen him take those tough carries and, dummy half runs as well. But, even that try disallowed, it just showed, he can play that kind of, not as silky as Reece Walsh, but,
because if we put Volkman in there, we know that they're going to be bloody sending Jeremiah Nanai straight at him.
Tamalolo.
Bloody just running those angles.
Tamalolo, Cohen has
all these gun edge
Ruben
runners.
Cotter, they'll be running everybody his way.
They got a good team. But he's hoping that they don't turn up next week. But yeah, boys, we probably should jump on out of here because we've chatted on for a little bit.
We've got extra time. Golden point.
If you're listening to us, subscribe and follow us on Spotify or Apple or YouTube if you want. Just hit the subscribe button. Much appreciated for everyone who's subscribing. Also, you can check us out on Facebook. Got the group going strong in there. All sorts of banter going around. What else we got? Twitter, Insta. I don't know, something else. TikTok. We got no TikTok.
MySpace.
High five.
Evo. We're everywhere. High five.
Oh boy. And yeah, just
if you want my AOL, or if you want my ICQ,
if you
download us on
right. Feel free to spread the word. Warriors Anonymous, spread it far and wide to your friends or whoever. But I guess we'll get on out of here, fellas. We've got a big game coming up against the Cowboys. It's going to be interesting. Probably a little bit scary, but we have faith. Our boys we can bounce back. We can get home. There's no place like home. On behalf of the MIA, my name is Sauce. Good luck for your exam, bro. Kill it. Also, Isaac Sauce and Daniel Fontaine. My name is Jimmy Crane. This has been Warriors Anonymous. Go, you Warriors!